the reason why we're coming to you today is because we have got the exact framework that we have both used to write multiple six figures in life insurance. And so we turn this into a telesales script as well. And everyone in our programs are currently using this to work our leads. So I'm going to break it down and kind of go over why we do things this way and why we give value first to get people to make a purchasing decision. Stick to the end if you want to see the most simple close in this business that literally never gets objections. So let me start with the legend. Whenever the text is black, that's just what you're saying. Action, like a wait for a reply or write this down or whatever, is going to be in blue with the asterisks. The fill in the blank, maybe it's client name, your name, final expense, mortgage, whatever it is, that's going to be in red. And then your key points are going to be like, that's the part of the framework. And so you can kind of fill in the verbiage if you'd like to a little bit, but the key points are the things that you absolutely have to touch on, regardless of how you say it. So I'm going to jump straight in here to step one. And Tim, if you don't mind scrolling down here a little bit for me, I know you got screen control. I'm going to kick us off here. I guess it's easier if I just kind of like role play it out with you, and then we can just stop and do it like we did last time with the framework dissects.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Sounds good to me.
Sweet. Cool. So my favorite thing is this call intro here. I'm going to jump straight into it, and we're going to go through step one. So ring, ring.
Hello?
Hey, is Tim there?
Yeah, this is Tim. Who's this?
Hey, Tim. It's Julian. I'm getting back to you on that request you submitted for the final expense program. You listed your beneficiary as your daughter. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. If I filled something out, that's probably who I would have put down.
Okay. Reason I'm calling is just to see what you qualify for. And I'm guessing that you're trying to make sure that your daughter doesn't get stuck having to cover the funeral bill in the event that something were to, knock on wood, happen to you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, gotcha. And just so we're on the same page and I know exactly what to go over, has anyone ever talked to you about this kind of thing before?
Nope. Nah, this will be the first time.
Okay, no worries. And just so I'm going to go over everything just to make sure that we're on the same page. If you don't understand something as I go through this, please stop me. Does that sound fair enough?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, and you have to let me know here because if you don't understand the programs, that means I didn't do my job right, okay?
Sounds good.
Awesome. So let's break face for a second. Going through this here, the call intro, got this from Jordan Belfort. The whole thing about this is to act as if you're familiar. So I'm like, hey, Tim, it's Julian. You always want to end with questions and up notes because it sounds familiar and it's like you're calling your old buddy from high school. And then the first thing that you got to do is get to point of interest. I'm not going to ask about how their grandkids are doing. I don't give a shit about what car they drive or what color their freaking roof is or if they've got solar panels. I'm simply just getting in to figure out, okay, did you fill this out? Is this the information that you submitted? Because the sooner they know that I'm actually calling them with real-time information that they sent in, the more likely they are to continue the conversation with me before I start listing off everything that I do in the company that I work with. So it's not about you, it's about them. And then just making sure that you're confirming the need. Like, why did you actually fill this out? Do we need to really have a conversation? And then I do the whole knock on wood thing. That's just something that I like to throw in for theatrics and make this shit fun. If you don't like to do that, you don't have to, but I think it adds a lot. I like to add a little bit of personality in there and give them kind of I like to build a relationship with the person and actually like have fun with this. If you take it too seriously, it kind of sucks. So let's move on here. I don't think there's anything else we need to cover. Just confirming what they know about this or don't know about this, and then just making sure that they understand that they have the right to interject if they don't know what you're talking about. So I'll jump through step two. This is the beginning of the education process. Pick up where I left off. Okay, perfect. So before I go over how these programs work, do you know the difference between an agent and a broker?
You mean like a FBI agent or stockbroker? What do you mean?
No, I'm talking like the funny looking guy on the TV commercials that looks like he looks like one of those preppy guys. He's got the khakis, like Jake from State Farm or something like that. That would be an example of like an agent, right? And so agents only work for one company. And the problem is guys like Jake can't show you the best rate that you can get. They'll just show you the best rate that their company has, right? And so a broker works with all the companies so they can shop the market for you to get the most amount of coverage for the least amount of money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Perfect. So based on what I just described to you, do you think it would make more sense for you to work with an agent or a broker?
I would say a broker, right? Because I'm going to get the best price instead of just paying a higher, more expensive bill, right?
Exactly. And that's why I became a broker, is because I'm able to get my clients the best thing that they can get, that they qualify for. And since I have all the options, you don't have to spend weeks calling insurance companies, writing down pages of quotes, and going through dozens of applications just trying to get approved. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool. And are you familiar with the difference between term and whole life insurance and how those work?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Okay, so basically, the way that term works is that you get more coverage for a lower price, and it expires after a certain time periods, typically 10, 20, 30 years. And most people use this for like replacing income, paying off large sums of debt, car payments. And this is usually better for younger people who have a family and a bunch of like debt. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Perfect. So with whole life, you don't get as much coverage as you do with term, but it never expires. So people that get this, they usually put this in place for things that are like um, guaranteed to happen, like a burial or like a funeral cost, or they want to leave like a little inheritance behind. And most people go with that option are usually over 50, and they're either planning ahead or they're in retirement on a fixed income. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Okay, based on your situation, Tim, which one do you think makes more sense for you, term or that whole life?
Well, with me being 64 years old, obviously I'm over 50. Um, Probably say whole life.
Okay, gotcha. And some, before I go back into the next thing here, let's just recap step two real quick for you guys. So the important thing to understand here is that we're flipping the script. We don't want to sell. I'm not like you need whole life. Da, da, da. I'm having them walk themselves into the trap, right? The trap being making the purchasing decision. And so it's a lot easier for me to use bait to get a fish on the hook than to just like shoot spears into the ocean and hope that I'm going to catch something. Unless you're like actually just spear fishing, swimming around, right? So there's a reason people that use bait, and when you're going over this, you're also giving them free value, and so it's kind of just helping them understand like what it is that they need or don't need, and making sure that you can give them something before you make an ask, and this will help them to make that buying decision here in the future. And now what you'll find is most people object, and I'm going to jump right into that after this, but most people are going to object and tell you, hey, actually, yeah, I know exactly what that looks like. Da, da, da. I've had insurance. I've sold previous insurance agents that told me they knew what it was. Literally, just ask them. Okay, can you explain this to me real quick so I know we're on the same page? These things change over time. When you do that, you force them to admit their ignorance without being combative, and you get them to go back right back into the script. So don't freak out there. Also, notice I'm not going like exactly every single word for word because I don't want it to sound scripted. I want to follow the like 95% of it, but I throw in my own little thing here and there to keep it fresh and to keep it fun. Um, let's go ahead and jump straight into step three so that we can get through this for you guys. So I want to highlight their problem next. Let's jump in. Okay, Tim, and what exactly are you looking to cover? Like a burial or like a cremation?
Yeah. Definitely don't want to be cremated. So probably looking at a full burial with a casket and headstone and everything like that.
Okay, awesome. And so the average cost of a burial in Arizona is, let's just say 10 grand. And it's about 10 grand in Arizona. So we need to look at about, let's see here. Do you have any, does this sound about, would 10 grand sound about right, or am I leaving anything out here?
Um, I'll probably have some pyrotechnics in my funeral, so I might need a little bit more than that. I'm looking more towards like a $15,000 to $20,000 option.
Okay, perfect. And so is there anything else that I'm leaving out here, like maybe a credit card, car payment, anything that you would need to cover in addition to that pyrotechnics funeral, or is that going to cover the bill?
That should be it. Yeah, 15 to 20 should be enough.
Okay, awesome. Just want to make sure that, we actually do have enough here. So just so I understand, you're basically trying to see if you'd qualify for a program that your daughter wouldn't have to pay the 15 to 20 grand for the pyrotechnics and the nice, golden casket or the pyramid or whatever you get just out of
No,
their own pocket. Am I off base in saying that?
no, not at
Okay.
all.
Okay, so while I'm getting everything pulled up here, give me one moment. I'm curious. Most people don't just sit around thinking about life insurance. What exactly got you thinking about this kind of thing?
Well, I'm getting older, 64. My wife had a heart attack last month,
Oh no.
so kind of got us thinking about the inevitable. And I recently had a friend that passed away, and he didn't have any of this kind of coverage. And just like me, he kind of wanted a nicer funeral, and his kids ended up having to to come out of pocket to pay for that.
Gotcha. And you said you and your wife were thinking about it, so I'm guessing that she was able to overcome that heart attack, and she's still doing okay, just recovering. I'm guessing.
Yeah, she's doing all right.
Okay, good to hear. I hate to hear about your friend as well, man. It's very common. There, I'm sure you've seen the GoFundmes and all those things, but that's you're exactly in the right place and looking for this stuff, and it's cheaper while you're younger, so you're looking at it at the right time. Um, okay, and so before we go into the next one, I can just kind of break this down here real quick. So whenever you're trying to, this is like where you're creating the need, right? And so if you're going to go through and try to pitch someone on like why they need life insurance, like if you just called me up and said, "Hey man, you need $15,000 in life insurance for $60 a month. Does that sound good? Like, do you want to go ahead and fill out an application?" No, I don't. And the reason why is because I don't even know that I need to pay this. Most people don't know what the average cost of a funeral is. And I gave an example. It's probably not 10 grand in Arizona, but it's it's like you gotta basically make them realize they have a problem, but they have to be the one to tell you, right? And so when you ask them burial cremation, you're having them voice which problem they do have, and then we're finding out about debts, car payments, anything else, and then we're able to tally up that bill and repeat back to them the amount of money that they're going to need, so that we can actually tell them how much life insurance they're going to need. Because now you're actually solving a problem versus just asking them to commit to a monthly payment, right? And so when we can reveal this issue to them and then find the motivation behind it, we've got them. This is it. This is where you're just about making the sale. Granted, you still got to get through the close and everything, but this right here is why people buy. It's the problem that motivated them to get in the conversation, and then it's the problem that they're trying to solve so that they don't have to have their kids end up in the situation that they just went over with you, right? So in this case, his friend died. And so that's why we're asking these questions, and it's important that you don't skip over these. This is like these are some of the most important questions you can ask the entire time. And so we can jump straight into the next one, but you guys have to be sure that you're covering this. Otherwise, you are losing deals. So step 4, overview pain. Okay, and just to make sure I understand, if you weren't able to qualify for one of the programs available in your area, Tim, how would that affect your daughter? Like, what exactly would that look like?
Well, she does pretty well for herself. She's a pharmacist, but her and her husband don't have a ton set aside in savings, so they'd probably have to put it on a credit card
Mm,
and pay it off over the next few months, something like that.
yeah. Okay. And you said they don't have. I'm guessing they're probably just getting started out. Then you said she's a pharmacist, so I mean that there's a ton of school there and everything. They're probably just getting started out on their own, I'm guessing.
Yeah, somewhat. They've been at it for a few years, but yeah, compared to me, they're just getting started.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Let's make sure that that bill never happens to your daughter. And so I do need to run through a quick survey just to see if you even qualify. And if you do, we can go over what possible next steps you might be able to take. Does that sound fair enough?
It does, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And so, guys, before I jump into the survey here, I want to break this down because this is like super important. So, the reason why I'm asking them, we've created the need, we've solidified the motivation behind the need, which in the close, if they give us an objection, this is going to give us, hey, you want to make sure that this doesn't happen to your daughter like it did to XYZ, right? So, we're setting ourselves up here. We're building a foundation up so that we have a house to actually live in when we're done with this, right? Get the deal closed. And so, here, we're asking a consequence question. This is ensuring that they're going to be able to voice to us what the problem we're actually solving is and what would happen if we don't solve it, which is why I like to ask what would happen if they didn't qualify and what it would look like so they can actually give me full-on imagery and explain the process of the consequence if they don't make this decision today, right? Scroll down. Obviously, we're sitting on the, hypothetically, we're sitting on the same side of the table, I guess metaphorically. Metaphorically, we're sitting on the same side of the table now because I'm like, hey, let's make sure that bill never happens to your daughter. So like, we're on the same team now. I'm no
Yeah.
longer a sales rep. I'm their boy. And then the survey, if you scroll down, this part's extremely important as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
guys.
Real quick before we jump into that, this blue part right here and this blue part, this is like the most important part of the script. So you
Yeah,
really want to like this isn't just one question. Like
it's
if
like
it's
5.
yeah, it's like 5 questions. You could easily spend like 2 to 3 or even 4 minutes just on each of these pieces because this is like you're finding their why, and this is where you want to start asking questions. And it's kind of like one question leads into another question, which leads into another question, which is why we can't really script it out. It's kind of something that you have to do on your own. But
It's
like
got to be real too.
it's
That's
got to
why.
be real, exactly. So like Julian's asking me about, oh, your friend just passed away. What did that look like? Okay. And so did their kids have to pay it out of pocket? Yeah, they put it on a credit card. Okay. And, how did that affect them? Like, what did that look like? Got it. And so I'm guessing that you don't want that to happen to your daughter, do you, after seeing what just happened? And then, also the wife having the heart attack. Gotcha. And if, God forbid that would have turned out in a different situation, like what would that have looked like for you having to pay for the funeral for your wife, right? So you really want to dive in deeper here. Obviously, we're keeping it short just for the sake of brevity and making sure we're not taking up too much of your guys' time overviewing the script. But when you're actually doing this, you want to really, really go deep and figure out what the root of that problem is. And then also, when you're playing out the worst and best case scenarios, you don't have to go as deep as this, but you do still want to go deep. You do still want to figure out, okay, this is the situation if you don't get insurance. And like, okay, if your daughter has to put it on a credit card, how does that affect her family? How does that affect your grandkids? How does that affect this? How does that affect that? And so you're diving deep so they can really envision what that scenario looks like. And then also playing out the best case scenario so that they can see the downside and then the upside as well.
Yep. Good touch points, Tim. Real quick, in addition to that, at the very end here, as we transition into the survey, this is just finding out which carrier they're going to qualify for. And so when you say to see if you even qualify, you're putting a barrier between them purchasing and them having to continue to speak to you, which makes you more valuable, first of all. Second of all, what possible next steps you might be able to take is like the most non-committal way to get someone to commit to do something without them feeling like sales pressure. And so when I say, hey, I need to run through this quick survey, I'm not going to ask you all these health questions. MIB check, da-da-da. No, we're not there. It's literally just, I got to run through a quick survey to see if you even qualify. And if you do, we can go over what possible next steps you might be able to take. Does that sound fair enough? If that sounds unfair, get off the phone. These people are nuts. But that is like the easiest way to get someone to continue on the sales call and not have them like basically try to blow you up and just harangue you for a quote. So go through the survey. You can click on that. There's a copy in there. And we'll leave a copy of this script below here as well in the description. But
yeah, well you guys, if you join our Facebook group, Insurance Agent Freedom, we'll have a link to the entire script there, so you guys can use it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I meant to tell you it's in the group, but might qualify next step. So here's the next key point. So I'll jump back into it. Okay, Tim. So based on what you're telling me, it sounds like you might. Yeah, I've gone through the survey already, by the way, for context.
And by the way, when they're doing the survey, when you guys are doing the survey, make sure that you use an underwriting tool so that you're not having to go through all this stuff yourself. Ask them the questions and then plug those questions into an underwriting tool. It'll save you a ton of time and you won't have as many declines.
A lot of headaches, yeah, if you don't do it. So we've already gone through the survey. We've used our underwriting tool. We know who they qualify for, but we're not just shooting quotes all over the place yet. We're literally about halfway through. And this is so that we can build value. Okay, so based on what you're telling me, Tim, it sounds like you might be able to qualify for one of the programs in your area. And I'm going to get a few quotes put up here real quick just for you. Just give me 1 second. Do you remember when we talked about the different types of life insurance, a term and whole life?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so based on you wanting to protect your daughter from the funeral bill and the pyrotechnics, and based on the situation, I think you told me that you felt like the whole life would be a better fit for you, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, perfect. So, and I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page, so the quotes I'm getting pulled up for are for. I just wanted to make sure that we're on the same page. So the quotes I'm getting pulled up are for a company called, let's say, Royal Neighbors of America. Have you ever heard of them before?
No.
Okay, gotcha. And so, and you can say if yes, no, give a quick elevator pitch. So like, for example, I'm going to like when they were founded, what they do, why they do it, what are the key points of working with them. And I think I have another little refresher right before as a value stack for us to make the pitch. But like, this means you need to actually know your carriers. And I'm going to jump right back into the script.
Yeah. And real quick, just so you guys know, this is regardless of if they say yes or no, they've heard of the carrier.
Yeah, I don't care. If they do know them, just, hey, I'm going to give you a refresher on why we're doing business with them, basically. So this is why I asked you all the questions based on what you qualify for. My job is to find you the best match. And if I don't, then obviously you'd probably, if somebody else were to offer you a better deal, you'd come in and you'd probably take it, right?
Like if they offered me a better price, you mean?
Yeah, like if somebody comes in and I asked you all these questions and we ended up looking at Royal Neighbors here, but if somebody were to come in and they were to give you everything that I'm giving you and they were to do it for less, you'd probably go with them, right?
Yeah, as long as it was legit.
Exactly. So when I look at all the options nationwide, I have to find you the best one so that doesn't happen, right? Because otherwise I would just go out of business, right? And so the reason why we're picking this company is because based on your health conditions with the, diabetic neuropathy, the gabapentin, the metformin, Royal Neighbors is going to offer you the most amount of coverage, the lowest amount each month. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And the reason I like working with Royal Neighbors is because of the fact that they're really involved in impoverished communities. They give out scholarships to people that don't have enough money to go to college and things like that. So they're investing in our communities and our future, right? They offer a free simple will, which means you don't have to actually like come out of pocket to go and get that done with an attorney, which costs a freaking fortune. And on top of that, they offer like miscellaneous discounts on things like dental vision or like general basic legal services, like think like a seatbelt ticket or something. And that's literally just because they're a fraternal society, right? So they're focused on not making profit, but on benefiting the member. And so the good thing is that they have the resources of a big company, but they're focused on providing higher level service like a small business. Do you have any questions for me about Royal Neighbors?
Nope.
Okay. And based on your situation, do you see why we're going with this option?
Yeah, because I have diabetic neuropathy.
Yep, exactly. And so I've got these quotes ready for you. If you want to grab pen and paper for me, you can write these down for your records. Okay, let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
You want to scroll down a little bit? Okay, so I wanted to give you a range of options so that we could figure out what makes the most sense for you. Now, guys, I'm going to break the role play here for a second. I'm going to explain the entire pricing, but before I do that, you want to start with the biggest number at the top. Have them write that first. So it actually would be backwards from the way that I have it written here. I
We'll
just did
fix it before we publish it.
Yeah, we'll fix it before we publish it, but we'll throw this on. We'll get that all on here. But you want to write the biggest number first. This is called a price anchor. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how I do this and why I'm having them do it this way. Okay, Tim. So I got your range of options so we can figure out which one makes the most sense for you. So I want you to write down in the very middle of the paper 15,000. Let me know when you got that down.
All right.
Below that, I want you to write down. Or you said you wanted 20. So let's start with 20. So I want you to write 20,000 at the top. Let's just start over. And then I want you to write down 17,500 under that. And then I want you to write down 15,000 below the 17,500. Let me know when you got it.
Done.
Perfect. Now to the right of each of those, I want you to write an equal sign. So an equal sign next to 20K on the right side, an equal sign next to 17,500, and an equal sign next to 15,000 to the right of that. Let me know when you got it.
Done.
Perfect. So the 20,000 to the right of the 20,000, I want you to write down 175, just 175. And then to the right of the 17.5, I want you to write down 150, 150. And then to the right of the 15,000 at the bottom, I want you to write down 135, 135. Okay.
Like I'm taking a test.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm going to explain to you why I have you write it this way in just a second. But out of those three options, go ahead and circle the one that makes the most sense for you. And let me know when you're done.
Done.
Okay, scroll down a little bit. Perfect. Now, the reason that I had you write it this way is because if you pay the small one, they pay the big one. Super simple. In the equal sign, the reason I had you put that is because the price never goes up and it never goes down. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, based off what you circled, which coverage amount was the best fit for you?
I wanted 20, but that's a little out of my budget. So I'm thinking maybe the 17.5 would be the best bet for me.
Okay. 17.5. I'm making a note of that here. Okay. Now, basically the way that this works is we're going to run through an application just to see if you even get accepted. And this makes sure that your daughter doesn't have to worry about getting stuck with the 17.5 the pyrotechnics or the casket, any of it, right? And
Got
so
it.
this is if something were to happen to you, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to verify some information with you real quick. And so I guess, is it Tim or Timothy?
Legally, Timothy.
Okay. And the last name is Shukher, like, let me see, Schucker. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. I almost made a not PC joke. And the address is 123 not PC Avenue, Arizona. Is that correct?
It's actually 123 Mac Avenue.
Mac Avenue. Okay, cool. And then, so I'm just going to go through the application there, right? And that's pretty much like you're going to get you might get a few objections. I put how you can ask for banking here as well. And so let's kind of go through why we're following this process before we jump into the next steps. If we want to scroll back up to survey, it was where we left off last.
Yep.
All right. So once we go through here, we want to make sure that we're like, again, we're not, oh, hey, you got approved, or hey, we can get you approved. I'm not giving up my cards. That's my hand, and I don't want to give away my hand or I'm losing the game. So we remind them of the need, let them know they might qualify, and then we go to step 5, sell the outcome, right? So we make sure that they understand why we're going with what we're going with, who we're going with, and basically what they're getting, right? We're covering the function of it. We're covering function here. Very boring. Don't spend too much time on this unless they ask questions. So keep going through. Just fire it off.
Yeah, real quick for 3 benefits, a good benefit to always mention is like the financial stability of the company, and then the speed of the claims payout, because those are like the free will is always a good thing to mention if you're using like a company that offers that. But particularly like you want to make sure that if you can relate the benefits back to the consumer. So like the free will is a great one because that's something they can take advantage of. The seatbelt thing, if you get a seatbelt ticket, that's a great one. Maybe if they don't have seatbelt tickets, it might not be as important to them. But speed of claims process and financial stability of the company, no matter what company it is, that is always a good thing to throw in there as a benefit of the company.
Yep, and especially like customer service
Yep,
also is
that as
one thing
well.
I found that people really like. That's why I talk about like they're focused on providing they have the money of the big company, they have the service of a small business. Because when you say that, like I've had people be like, well, how long? I've been on the insurance company, because most people associate car insurance and life insurance with a similar process, and so then they assume that it's going to be a 3.5 hour wait time plus before they get hung up on to have to do that again when they're filing like a car claim. Versus like with life insurance, it doesn't have to be that way. So just making sure that they understand that, and that you're going to be helping the beneficiary walk through that process. Um, Having them go through this here and explain, like going for the close here, having them write this down and circle it is basically just having them make the decision to purchase before they've made the decision to purchase. It's like a pre-purchase prime. And so when they circle that, one of the things you notice is like I didn't ask which option they wanted based off of price. I asked which option they wanted based off of coverage amount. And so the one thing that you do have to be careful with here is that people will go for more coverage and they'll go for price. And because you just price anchored them with the 20K in coverage, they're more likely to pick something that's out of their budget. And so while this gets you higher premium counts, what you have to do is make sure that you basically sandbag it 2 to 3 times by asking them, hey, just to confirm, is that going to be okay with like in your like on your worst month? Is that going to work for you? Like if the heat goes out in the house in this winter, like is that going to be a problem? Right? Because the point is this is supposed to add value to your life and pay out to your beneficiary. It's not supposed to make life harder for you. It's supposed to make life easier for you. And so I just wanted to double check because I know you're on a fixed income, right? And so it's not something we don't really script that in here. But like when you're using that method, people will always. I've had somebody try to buy almost $500 a month of insurance from me, making $700 a month just because of the way that presentation is structured. And you just have to be really, really careful to fact check that, because then it ended up being only a $70 a month policy, but that's what he could afford, $40 a month, whatever it was. I forget what it was, but he ended up buying a policy still in the books today. Just have to make sure that you like confirm with them that the budget's good. Otherwise they will bite off more than they can chew, because the reason they're buying final expense is more than likely they're not good with money. So just keep that in mind.
And you can like if people say it's too expensive, just requote with the 3. Just go
Yeah.
down. Just go down.
All right, let's roll down to the next one. Confirming that. Cool. I have a way for you to ask in banking in there, and this will help you avoid getting hung up on there because it makes you sound more credible. And let's see.
Or do you want to go through it?
Yeah, we can go through it. So once I'm like after I'm doing once I'm going for banking, I do similar thing with social, but I'll be like, hey, so who do you and Tim, and who do you bank with, man?
What is it? I think it's what was the one with the BB&T and SunTrust merger?
Truist.
Truist. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And did you sign up with Truist there in Arizona, or where'd you get registered with them?
I actually got it in Wyoming.
Oh, perfect. So give me 1 second here. My system actually automatically populates the routing number for me. Did you want me to give that to you? I can give it to you if you'd like to write it down.
Yeah, sure.
All right. And that routing number is going to be 111-111-111. And
That's exactly what it says in my checks.
oh, okay. All right. And the last thing we need to make sure they can get guarantee that your daughter will get the check for the 17,500 is your account number. I'm ready when you are.
Yeah, it's 138494149.
Awesome. Guys, before like this is the sticking point for like so many agents. It's really not hard to get banking. You just got to be smooth. And so you notice I gave myself a delay when I'm Googling the routing number and I offer it to them. That is by design. That is to ensure that you have credibility. You don't look like an absolute jackass. Now, the other thing that's really beneficial here is that I'm tying it to a benefit. So I'm making sure, hey, you need to give me your account number so that your daughter can get guaranteed paid out. This is where you're going to get typically the most amount of friction during the purchasing process outside of the social. And so in this particular situation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that they understand that if they're like, oh, I don't have my account number. Oh, it's on the check that you just mentioned a moment ago. Go. I'm ready whenever you are. And I just wait. Oh, you can, and then if they don't, oh, I don't have a check. I was just bullshitting. Okay, great. It's going to be in your online banking portal. I'm just going to wait. Whenever you have it, let me know. And so the biggest thing here is just to remember that basically with the account number, like people don't want to give that to you and they oftentimes don't keep up with where it is. You literally don't give up until you get it. So I'm going to go through, like I'll go through blank check. I'll go through online banking. I'll go through bank welcome packet that they gave you. Should be on the first sheet in the right side, typically. I'll go over call the bank, literally anything. Like there's no world in which I'm leaving this. And then I'm just tying it to the consequence. So the same way that I tie the benefit to me getting it, I tie not getting it to the consequence. Yeah, if we're not able to get this, man, there's no way we can get your daughter paid out for 17.5 because the thing is that for them to be able to guarantee that payment, they've got to make sure it can't lapse due to a credit or debit card expiration, which is why they only do it. And that's how they're able to build that level of credibility in the marketplace. So whenever you have it, I'm ready whenever you are. And just keep it going, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Let's go to step 6 real quick.
And real quick, I wanted to add some context because I don't know if we mentioned this. After this step, when you just go to verify information, when you're confirming their name, that's you filling out the application. So you're just basically assuming the close.
Oh yeah, it's an assumption. But you don't ask for the order. You just like obviously based off of what you've given them, they need this. So like there's no reason you wouldn't. But whenever you're explaining away the concerns, we have objections flashcards for these, and the passwords in there as well and everything. If you go into our Facebook group, Insurance Agent Freedom, you can get access to the script for absolutely free $99, and you'll get access to the flashcards as well. We're finally releasing this to the public. This is only available to people in our paid programs previously, but we want to see you be successful. So please let us know what other resources we can give you guys or videos we can make to help you see success in this business, because that's what this is all about. So step 7, this is basically just kind of like the cool down stuff. Tim, I don't know how much you really want to touch on this. Let me know, because while this is like a lot of this is like where the referrals and everything are made, I don't know how much this would be helpful for like a call to close situation.
I think we can skip over this. I think the referral could be helpful, just so we can kind of throw that in as a little bonus. But I think maybe if we can touch on, because I think some people may get held up on this part. Where is it?
Which part?
Before just like confirming the name and just going straight into the application. Because like, let's say for example, you start filling it out, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were going to fill out an application. Why are you like? I'm not ready to move forward.
Yeah.
Then,
So you'll get a ton of like good point, Tim. You will get a ton of objections here from like brokies. And this is typically from people that like are shopping around or whatever. And so like the game here is just to make sure that you're basically like wildly curious, like childlike curiosity. And so if somebody's like, oh, I'm not really sure that you were gonna like go ahead and start filling out an application, like whatever. I'm just like, oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. So basically, I mean, everything that we've kind of gone over was to make sure that, we could get you set up for your daughter to get paid out. You said you didn't have anything in place currently. Is that correct? And so I'm basically just bringing them back. I'm taking them because the whole reason that they're freaking out is because they're like, oh shit, I have to make a financial commitment. And so what we have to take them away from is financial commitment and bring them back to a solution of the problem, right? And so if let's say Tim were to give me that objection, but yeah, I mean, you were letting me know like you didn't have anything, right? It's a very valid question. Yeah, no, I don't have anything. Oh, okay, gotcha. And so the whole reason that we got connected here today was because you mentioned that you didn't want your daughter to end up like your friend did with them having to make all those payments. Is that right? Am I off base in saying that?
No, you're not.
No? Okay, gotcha. And so I guess what I'm wondering here is like we're not going to be able to get you even considered for this program unless we fill out this application. But I'm not going to like pressure you to do anything you don't want to do or anything here. I'm literally just here to help. So you let me know, how do you want to move forward?
I just want to think about it.
Okay, gotcha. Absolutely. So guys, think about it. One of the most common objections ever. And so then the question is like, it's not whether or not nobody's going to go and think about it. And we're not going to just lunge down their throat by, what do you want to think about? We're not doing that shit. And so it's quite literally, we just need to understand. And so my favorite technique here to overcome this objection is literally just to fall on the sword. Take all the blame for everything. Tim, I totally agree, man. I think you'd be an idiot not to think about such a big decision. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely want to.
Yeah, especially with something as important as like, getting your daughter paid out for almost 20 grand. It's definitely a huge deal. And so I guess my only question here before we get on our next call, whenever we reschedule for, is everybody else in your area has like lunged at this opportunity just to even apply. And so I guess I'm wondering like, where exactly did I go wrong in explaining this?
I mean, I don't think you went wrong at all. I just, kind of want to give it some thought.
Okay. Typically what will happen here is people will give you the real objection. If they still stall again, then at this point, what you can do to disarm them is go to schedule the appointment and before you circle back. So, okay, gotcha, Tim, no worries. Makes a ton of sense. Let's go ahead and get something on the calendar here. That way you don't have to chase me down. Let me see. I have something available either today or tomorrow. Which works better for you?
Like later today?
I mean, tomorrow or what's today? All right, let's say today's Sunday. So like, we'll just say, let's say Monday or Tuesday, which works better for you, right? And so
I could probably do Tuesday. Just as long as I have a day or two to think about it. I need to talk this stuff over with my daughter and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'll go through. I'll literally set the entire appointment here with 2 option closes on like getting him to make the decision, and then right before we jump off the phone, I'm gonna be like, okay, and or at least jump off the phone. I'll be like, okay, Tim, and gotcha. You said you wanted to think about it and talk over it with your daughter, just so I know what to have prepared for you, and I can make sure you know exactly what you need to think about. What exactly is it that you wanted to go over in your head and with your daughter, just so I make sure that I can give you everything you need?
I mean, honestly, I just I don't know. The price is a little bit much, and I want to make sure and see if I can find something better.
Boom, that's it right there. His problem is price. He's leaning on shopping around. My next approach here is literally just going to be, hey, okay, that makes sense, Tim. And I know when we were talking earlier, you said you were familiar with the difference between the agent and the broker. Is that correct?
Yes.
Gotcha. So the reason why I'm asking, Tim, is because with me being a broker, I work with all the companies nationwide. So in regards to which programs you'd be able to qualify for, this one is going to be the top rated and lowest price for the most coverage across the country. Now, in regards to the price, do you think it might make more sense for you to get started with the 15,000, and then if in the future it makes sense, you can just bump up to the 17.5? Because what I don't want to happen is that we get something that's supposed to be there for your daughter to get paid out, and instead of getting 17.5, she gets 0 because your air conditioner goes out in the summer or something. You got to replace it. You lose the policy, and then it ends up costing more down the line after you've taken some time to think about it and either had a health problem or had another birthday. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, I think that would make a lot more sense.
Let's go ahead and start with the 15,000. I'm going to go ahead. Hold on. Let me update everything here in the system on my end, and we can get everything squared away for you. And so the issue there for him was price. And I had to get through like 4 objections before he gave it to me. Sometimes it happens, and that's okay. But what we can't do is, okay, go ahead and think about it, man. Let's just reschedule. He will never show up again. And so while we got him on the phone, we got to take it down there, because at the end of the day, like, life insurance is a product that nobody needs to think about. The sooner they get it, the better it is. And so if they need to think about it, it's because you're garbage or they can't afford it typically. And there's always some level of uncertainty, and you just got to find out where that uncertainty is. Is it in the product? Is it in the price? Or is it in you? And if you can cover those 3 bases and make sure that there's no disconnect on what they do or don't need, then you're going to be able to get them to move forward with the deal. And sometimes, like, for example, he could have been like, dude, I just, honestly, man, I just need to think about it. Oh, okay, gotcha. But I mean, do you see how XYZ can get you paid out for XYZ? I got to make sure he first understands the product works and the company works. But he already gave me price. He gave
Yep.
me price. So I just took it. But
100%.
like, we've got to cover those bases or we're going to lose the deal. I need to think about it as not a good reason for you guys to be losing sales.
Let's go into the referrals, and then I think we can kind of wrap up and tell people where they can get the script.
Cool. You want to go over beneficiaries too, or just referrals?
Well, I mean, the beneficiaries is like the best way, I think, to get referrals for people after they do the script. So let's do that, and then use that as kind of like the referral technique, and then we can kind of cover the rest of it in like maybe a later video or something.
Cool. And for my people out here, I saw a few things, like, for example, that we gotta update that we talked about. We'll get it all fixed up for you guys before we release this. But just wanted to remind you guys real quick. So step 8, let's jump in. So one thing that's beautiful about this business, before I even jump, I'm going to just give you guys up front how this works and why it works. Beneficiaries are like the free referrals that you get in no other business. And some people will use emergency contact or this or that. But in final, it's like with term, you got to go with something else. You got to go with emergency contact or something. I'm not getting a sale on a freaking 13-year-old kid. And if I do, it's going to be like a children's policy. It's not going to be it's not worth it. You can make an extra little bit of bread, but there's no point. Not when you can do this instead. So you can go through, sign up your final expense client. Usually you're going to have the people that are their beneficiaries to be term clients, unless it's their marriage partner, like their spouse. And so what you can do is you can get a primary and a contingent on most applications. And for the ones that you don't have the option to do the contingent, I think some of them give you like the option to put like 2 people on, but it doesn't have a contingent situation. You can just do like an emergency contact. But I always want to get 2 here, primary, contingent. So when I go through this, I'm like, hey, so one of the things and you have to pre-frame this, by the way. One of the things that I do for everyone that I work with is I'm going to call both your primary and your contingent beneficiary, just to make sure that in the event that something were to happen, that they will understand the claims process. And so I'm guessing that your daughter and your son have never had to file a death claim before. Is that correct?
They never have, no.
Okay, so I started doing this because one of my coworkers had a client pass away, and he didn't tell his family he had insurance. So they ended up starting to GoFundMe. We're calling everyone in their friends, family, church, Facebook, just how we found out. And as soon as we saw it, we were able to reach out and make sure that they were squared away. But that's why it's so important to do that, for you to do this, right? So go ahead with your daughter's number whenever you're ready.
All right, it's 555-911.
Awesome. And the number for your son, I'm ready for it whenever you are.
Yeah, 555-332-16581.
Awesome. So I'm going to throw us all in a group message, separate group messages, and give them a ring to go over the process with them and let them know how important it is to have my contact saved. And just so they don't think I'm some wacko telemarketer, do you want to shoot them a text and let them know that we got together today? Maybe something like, hey, John, this is my insurance man. He's going to give you a call to go over some important things. Let me know if you have any questions. And I just texted you, so you should see my text now. Did it come through?
Yeah.
Awesome. And this is the text template. Just shoot them a message. I do 1, 2, and then include my contact info. And then I call them 1, 2, 3, triple dial right afterwards. This is one of the best things that I ever did for my production. It's how we were able to, like, get extra sales and write term policies when we had 5 and 6-year-old leads. So after we go through all this, I basically just like reinforce the decision. I hope they know how lucky they are to have someone like you in their life, Tim. You don't know how many people, like, you won't believe how many people are just like, oh yeah, my kids can figure it out. I don't even care. Like, whatever. Your family is really so blessed to have someone who plans ahead. Seriously. And even if they don't quite understand it just yet, trust me when I say that you're preventing one of life's biggest heartbreaks for them. Now, before I go, what questions do you have for me?
No questions.
Guys, not do you have any questions? What questions do you have for me? Forces them to think about it, and this will clear up any uncertainty that could create a chargeback situation afterwards. Now,
Yep.
I used to do what do you have any questions for me? And it just turned into an absolute shit show on the back end. But then when I was able to clear up those last few things, so you can get a commitment and still have confusion. And so once you get commitment and then you clear up confusion, anything that might even be left, you're able to really lock down some better retention there. So that's the beneficiary script. This will change your business. Most people won't do this. If you're a 1% agent, you're going to do this. If
Yep.
you're not a 1%, if you are like an average agent that's not going to be in this business in 3 years, this doesn't apply to you. But if you're the person that we're talking to that wants to take their business to another level, that's serious about doing this thing, we're going to include a link below where you can actually apply to work with us and see if we can even set up a time to get together to kind of go over what we do and how we help agents. And for everyone that's looking for how can I get this script, this is insane, this is the best script I've ever seen. First, thank you. Secondly, you can find it in our Facebook group, Insurance Agent Freedom. It's going to be in the link down below. It's going to be in the link down below to the Facebook group. And once you sign up, you'll get access to that for absolutely free 99. We're not going to charge you for it. We want to make more resources available to agents in this business so that you don't have to move your contracts every 5 minutes just to end up with another empty promise. So guys, whatever we can do to help you be successful, please let us know. Comment down below. And Tim, do you have anything to add before we close out here?
Nope. Just join the Facebook group, get the script, and post sales whenever you get them, and you'll be entered to win a free all-inclusive trip to Mexico.
Boom. We'll see you there. See ya.
Peace.